Grilled cheese Sammys.
I can't wait to eat one.
I'm making grilled cheese after we get done with this, so let's hurry up.
What is perfect on a super cold day when you don't feel the best? Classic grilled cheese. Does my body not like dairy? No, it doesn't like dairy, but that American cheese.
Well, I've got news for you.
It's kind of
that American cheese isn't dairy anyways.
Yeah.
It's not real cheese. It's just some sort of chemical concoction that they made in a factory somewhere, so you'll be totally fine.
I would say it's perfect for a snow day, but for some reason all the areas around us have snow except for us. We just have cold.
It was snowing just enough when I went out to the store to be annoying, like on the roads.
Yeah.
But it's like not piling up at all.
Yeah.
So we don't get we just get to see dead grass with like some snow around the edges of the driveways and the road.
And it just feels extra cold for us because we just got back from Florida, where Florida was cold. I'm doing air quotes for Florida. But that was what I would consider elite Disney weather.
It was cold enough in Florida that I was running in a tank top and shorts.
Yes. So anyway, guys, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast where we watch TV. This is episode 52.
Hey, you did it.
And you did it too.
What did I do?
You told me, you said, which episode is it? So I actually pulled it up before we started recording, so we actually knew. It's a team effort.
I knew it was episode 52, and you didn't even let me do the intro.
Well, I decided to go ahead and take it and do
All
the
right,
intro.
we'll run with it then.
Run with it quite literally. So, do you want to tell them what we were doing in Florida? What we've been planning? We planned, worked at something for a year. What did we do down there, Daniel?
We ran a marathon.
We ran a marathon. And obviously, I apologize if my voice is a little weird because after said marathon and said time in the Disney parks, we both have seemed to have brought home some Disney crud with us.
I mean, it feels like it's like tradition with the marathon is from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, we're like...
It's like everybody who went down there, they ran the marathon, and now they're sick.
Like, everybody in my Run Disney groups are like, hey, when you got home, did you, like, start feeling really crappy? And I'm like, yes. And I'm sure the cold weather doesn't help. But anyway, we ran a marathon. We accomplished our goal. We worked at this thing, you guys, for basically... I'd say almost a year. You register. I think I registered us in late March or early April, but we kind of figured that's what we were going to go for. It was kind of last year after we did the Wine and Dine 2-course challenge, which is the half marathon with the 10K. We talked about finally doing that bucket list item. We've both been runners for several years. Like both of us ran competitively, and then Daniel took a little bit of a hiatus, but I continue to kind of run for fitness, but never like that type of mileage or anything. And then I know for a while I got really burned out on doing like longer stuff. And then the pandemic happened. I started doing a lot of different types of treadmill workouts. I got really back into it. I realized how much I missed stuff like Run Disney. And I don't know, one thing led after another, one poor decision after the next. And before you know it, we were signed up to do the Walt Disney World Marathon. I never really had any interest in doing a marathon before. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do one and check out that bucket list item, I want to do it before I'm 40. And let's just say, I feel like it would have been a better experience if I had been in my 20s. So if
maybe
you younger listeners out there, maybe
do it before you're 30.
Yeah, do it before you're 30. That might make it a little bit better. I had always said if I do one, I would do the Disney one because you get to run through all 4 parks. And I said maybe I would do the Boston one if I got a charity bib. I've since kind of been like, you know what, now that I've done one, I would probably do Disney again. Maybe I would do the New York City one just because it'd be a fun way to see the city. But
I just want to note, we had a deal.
During the race.
We had a deal. And even during the I believe at mile 24, you even looked at me. And what did you say, Hope? What did you say at mile 24?
I said never again.
Never again. Now here we are. What, 2 weeks removed? Happen. Not even 2 weeks removed.
No, like a week and
removed
a day
from doing it.
We finished it on Sunday, January 7th.
And you're sitting here telling me that, oh, you might do it again. Like, it would be fine again. And
never say never.
Listen to me. Listen, everybody. I'm here to tell you, I don't want to.
Well, the worst part, and this is what I figured it would be, the worst part was the training, ultimately. And everyone told me, they're like, the marathon itself will feel like a celebration of your training. And I was like, that is the most ridiculous, stupid thing I've ever heard. It actually did kind of feel like a celebration.
Celebration of crap. I mean...
You had fun.
Sure, yeah, but it also hurt. And
it did hurt, but it was like it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it was going to.
I can continue to run and be fit and not be training for a marathon.
It didn't hurt. Like our training that we put in, if you're going to do one, train. That's the best advice I can give. And I did, like, this training cycle was different than anything I've experienced before in training. Like, I feel like I have honestly been fortunate from what I've compared myself to other runners. Like, I've had some accidents before where, like, I twisted my ankle on a run real bad in high school. I had to go to physical therapy and my ankle's never been the same. But in terms of just like straight up injuries, like I hurt my toe on our 18-miler long run day, and that really kind of messed with my like mental psyche going forward. Because we didn't get to do our final long run as scheduled, and that hurt really bad, you guys.
I will note I think your toe ultimately was a positive because one, we took some time off that to rest our bodies.
Well, we
that
didn't
was
take
helpful.
time off. We just didn't run as far.
But we didn't run any more super long runs like that.
Yeah, we didn't take any days off.
But the more important thing that took place is it finally got you to realize to get yourself out of those awful cotton socks that you'd been wearing for 30 plus years.
That's true. I finally, after some trial and error, have found the ways of the good socks. I admit it. Now my foot can barely stand to be in that sock. But once my toe turned really, really black, it stopped hurting less. And I have to say, we did a run this afternoon, and my toe, now it might have been because it was so freezing cold outside and I don't feel very good.
It was like 22.
And it was just another poor choice that I made today. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
But like I think the marathon almost like beat the remaining feeling out of the toe. So I had that going on. You had some knee issues. I had a little bit of knee issues. I had some phantom ankle pain. Like literally I read about this, like it's called taper when you start backing off your mileage right before a marathon. And I just started getting like random ankle pains like the week that we were leaving. I was like, well, this is fun. And you just
psychosis,
have random, yeah,
schizophrenia, all kinds of just crazy stuff happens to you.
To me or you?
To me.
To everyone. But we did it. We survived. It was great. Like the race itself was great. Even when we had a torrential downpour, I feel like things were going really well. And then it was literally.
Well, you stopped at the bathroom there in Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
And you went in. I think it was a little sprinkling when you went in. It was a little
sprinkling.
But when you came out, it was a little bit more than a
downpour.
sprinkle. And then the downpour really hit about like a couple minutes after we started back.
So you run through all 4 parks. You start at Epcot parking lot. You circle through your beginning miles at Epcot. Then you run to the TTC for non-Disney speak. That's the Tickets and Transportation Center. TTC.
Yes, that's correct.
And then you run into Magic Kingdom, which is like the coolest part. So when we went up Main Street, they still had the Christmas decorations up. It was awesome. We got our little selfies in front of the castle. Things were going good. So they do have porta potties on the course, but one of the perks of running through Disney parks is if you have to go to the bathroom, which Daniel and I have to pee all the time, you can have some real bathrooms. So it did start sprinkling a little bit. So I pop into the bathroom in Tomorrowland, come out of it, downpour. Now, anybody that listens, I know a lot of you do, that are familiar with the Disney parks, what is one major issue with the Disney parks, especially Magic Kingdom, with rain?
The walkways turn into rivers when
it's like
it
moats.
Rains significantly.
I don't know if they need to.
I don't know what the deal is with that.
Is it like our shower when we got home from this trip and you had to put the Drano down there? Do we just need to put a lot
full
of
of your
Drano?
hair? Is that what you're suggesting?
Hey, quiet. You're hairy too. Don't be mean.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Anyway, so basically at that part when it's downpouring in Magic Kingdom, there's no like little, like the whole thing is a puddle. So we were soaked, but it was still like, where I'm like, I'm really gonna soak this in and enjoy this experience.
Literally.
Quite literally soak it in. So we got to run under Tron, which was like a new part of the race because obviously Tron wasn't open last year when they did the marathon. We got to run out by Frontierland is where we left.
Yep.
And that's where they stored like the floats from the parades. And I think there were supposed to be some characters over there. They were all, obviously, if it starts pouring, Disney doesn't have the characters out on the course, which we don't really stop for characters, but we like to look at them.
And that's when the rain kind of stopped. As soon as we got out of the park, the rain had kind of mostly
It wasn't like
subsided.
the whoosh whoosh downpour, but it did start to lift up a little bit. And then, speaking of the magical socks, I was like, wow, my feet are almost dry. And then we run smack dab through like another puddle, like all of us on the road.
You couldn't have avoided it.
Yeah, we couldn't. But like other than like it did pour, it got a little cold, but it could have been worse. It could have rained the whole time. It could have been stupid hot. So I'll take it. And then we got to run to Animal Kingdom.
I don't remember if we had this conversation during the marathon or if we had it during recovery. Give me the conditions that we had for our marathon that we did, including the 20 to 30 minute downpour over 85, 90 degrees hot any day of the week.
That's what I said. I was like, it could have either rained the whole time or it could have been stupid hot. Like, not this past year at Wine and Dine so we also did Wine and Dine this past November, but the year before in 2022, Wine and Dine conditions were horrible. It was so hot, so humid. You felt like you just couldn't breathe the whole time.
And
like,
it rained.
Could you imagine doing that?
No, I couldn't have.
And so
those conditions were like, essentially it was so humid that the sweat and the water that was on you wouldn't evaporate off. So
I eventually dried a little bit in the marathon. I mean, had plenty of time. That's when you're running a marathon forever. And my socks, I was so proud of my socks, guys. I'm a fan now of the moisture wicking socks.
We got back to the hotel room. She took the socks off of her feet.
Look at my socks!
And she was like so impressed. No blisters. And I was like, this is what I've been doing for like the last decade.
The K-tape that we put on our ankles, thank you, Kaylin, for that tip, held up. The moisture wicking socks, I guess thank you, society, for finally beating me down with it, held up. Like, I took my sock off and put it on like the little like air conditioning unit to kind of dry out. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this sock is like already almost dry.
Those cotton socks would have still been soaked. You could have wrung them out.
I probably could have. But we also got to run the Animal Kingdom, so that was fun. We ran through a lot of Animal Kingdom, too. I thought it was going to be like a little loop up by the Tree of Life. Like, they had us going through Dino Land, and we didn't do it, but...
What's left of it?
Yeah.
Like, they got half of it torn down and walled off at this point.
Well, they are.
It's like they took all the walls from Epcot and put them into.
And we didn't go to Animal Kingdom on this Disney trip because it was mostly about the marathon. But you did get to go there whilst you were running. But it was a lot of Animal Kingdom, though. And what people do during this, we didn't do it, is some people that are like literally in the race will go ride Expedition Everest.
I'm glad that we didn't plan that to be the case, because that point in the race was also when my foot decided to
say no,
stab me. And
we were both complaining about our toes and stuff.
Yeah, but the gout
before
decided to really pop up during that part, and that's where the next med tent we found, I downed the Tylenol.
Tell in our pictures at Animal Kingdom, because they have the PhotoPass people that'll take your pictures in each of the parks. Like, I can tell that Daniel's on the fake gritting teeth smile, because there's a couple of us. There's one of us running by Everest, and there's another of us running through Dino Land. And as usual with the way things go with Daniel and myself, is typically about a mile or a mile or two later is when the pain always sets in for me. So you took the Tylenol. We've never taken Tylenol. We're ibuprofen people. Sorry, I guess we just kill our body. We've been taught to abuse our bodies.
We don't like our livers and our kidneys. We don't care for them.
No, we do like
them.
Prefer
if they'd go away.
And we're trying to be better. But on the race course, because there are some risks to taking ibuprofen, they have Tylenol. And so you took some Tylenol. You're like, oh my God, it started kicking in immediately, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like this miracle, but all the sharpness, the way I describe it is all the sharp pain went away. The dull, nagging stuff was there, but it was much more tolerable.
And just about as soon as his pain started to go away.
We're really selling everybody on running the marathon here.
Yeah. Suddenly, it was no longer just my toe pain, my feet kicked in. I've heard the more marathons you run, the less you get the feet aching thing. I guess we might not find that out unless we just go run another one. I won't.
I'll take everybody's word for it.
So I'm like, fine, I want to get some Tylenol too. So they make us do this loop in and out of Animal Kingdom, on back roads. We got to see an elephant. That was cool. It wasn't on the road.
Yeah.
It was in this little pin area.
Yeah. And he was just chilling back there eating his breakfast, and we were like, yo, it's an elephant.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, so seeing the elephant was fun. But that's about the point where, just as usual, my pain kicks in about a mile or two after Daniel's. It just seems to be our trend. So he's like, you know what? I think your stomach will be fine with the Tylenol. Obviously, Tylenol is better for you to take than ibuprofen anyway. That's why they hand that out on the course. He's like, I think you should get some. So we stopped at the med tent. They're out of Tylenol. Of course. So we have to run it was probably about a mile and a half, right? Till the next med tent.
It was
right before Blizzard Beach.
Yeah, it was right there in that time period between 18 and 20.
Yeah, so finally we got it. I took 2, just like Daniel did. And I'd say within 5 minutes, it kicked in. So I've got to say, you know what, Tylenol, you want to sponsor this podcast? First off, my apologies to Tylenol. Do you want to apologize to Tylenol too? We've both talked a lot of crap about Tylenol.
No, I don't apologize for anything.
You're not going to
I've ever said
apologize?
ever. No.
Even though you've always like, Tylenol doesn't work.
I've never tried it.
Oh.
That was just ingrained in me from family people.
Probably from your mom.
Yeah.
You refused to take it once at doctor's orders. A whole other story. But I was like, Tylenol like doesn't do anything. It's never going to work. But I took Daniel's word for it. Tylenol, you saved my marathon. You made it fun. Because I think we would have still finished, but I would have been in tremendous pain. And it's just when your feet hurt so bad like that, it's really hard to enjoy your surroundings. And the Blizzard Beach part of this Disney marathon is we don't actually run into the Blizzard Beach, which I've never even been to Blizzard Beach. Have you?
No.
We're not water park people,
No.
yeah. Because our annual passes don't include the water parks. But we get to run the entirety of the Blizzard Beach parking lot. So it's basically like a big lap. You see people going in, and then you see people going out. So it's just one big loopy loop. And I could see how that would be totally miserable if it was like super, super hot.
Yeah,
and
if
sunny.
it was really hot. And
Because it
like,
was miserable as is.
Ours was, it wasn't hot and we were overcast, so we didn't really have a bunch of
Ours
sun.
was just tedious.
It was tedious, yes.
It's tedious. But I'm really glad we didn't have the other things coming into play. And I'm glad that Tylenol kicked in, got me through that part. And then after Blizzard Beach, we ran to Hollywood Studios.
And that's when the crying began.
And that's for the crying. Tears of joy. Once you get to Hollywood Studios, you have about a 5K left. So at this point, and it's all the fun parts. So it's in the bag. We got our chocolate stop at Hollywood Studios. Daniel, a staunch hater of dark chocolate, turns to me after we took the candy, because that's what they gave us.
It was just a Dove dark chocolate thing.
And what did you say?
It was the best chocolate I ever had in my entire life.
You've heard it first, you guys. Dark chocolate, Daniel Roush.
I hate dark chocolate.
Said best dark chocolate
No.
he's ever had.
No, I didn't say dark chocolate.
Best chocolate.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's how good it tasted. You don't get candy like that until the very last food stop. It's like a Disney tradition. So I knew it was coming up there.
Did you take two?
Heck yeah, I took two of them.
Well, why didn't I take two? I didn't know they would give me two.
She gave me two.
She just gave me one.
Well, my first one, remember, I kind of fumbled the bag, so I mainly only ate the 1.5.
Yeah, that's, as I'm thinking about it now. At the moment, I didn't realize it, but at the time, I was like, I could have had two. I could have easily.
Yeah, I didn't take bananas though on the course though. 'Cause I don't like
two.
bananas.
Oh, well, that's right. I ate 3 bananas.
It was funny when we run past the banana stops because it looked like Mario Kart with all the peels on the floor, just a bunch of runners just dropping them everywhere.
Yeah,
but yeah, we went through Hollywood. Saw for all the Ted Lasso people out there. I really cried when I saw some guy made the believe sign, but he did it so when the sign gets ripped and they put it back together.
Yes.
And he put it back together and held it, and that was right where we're running past the bus bays. We go on that we call it the International Squeezeway in the Run Disney community. It's just the path between the hotels and the boardwalk. Then you run on the boardwalk, and then you're in Epcot, and World Showcase is like a party. You finish with a whole big lap. You hit mile 25 in Germany.
I have a bone to pick with the Epcot fan. The people that were cheering and they were doing a great job. But I didn't see anybody.
The best part.
I didn't see anybody out there handing out beers.
Well, I mean, when you pay $15,
I wasn't
going to
stop for one, but if somebody had handed me one, I'd have taken it.
That girl was like, "Does anybody want my beer?"
Yeah, her half drank one. She was being facetious.
Hey, you never know. I think it was awesome.
Although now, in the state that we're in now, I guess the germs wouldn't have mattered.
Probably not.
So.
It was awesome, though.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to run through World Showcase, it's really cool.
And
I liked being able. This was the first time I think I've ever run through World Showcase in the daylight.
Yeah.
Because all the times we go before, it's either early or the wine and dine we did when it was still at night. It was at night. I've never been running through there during the daytime.
Yeah.
And it was nice because you can see, because World Showcase is also poorly lit.
The wine and dine half course, they have you go through World Showcase at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
So it's still very dark. Now, I have finished where it's been a little lighter, and then I've done some 5Ks, but I've never done anything. Like, you basically, for the marathon, you run the entirety of it, and there's other runners. You can see some of the really fast runners that are, like, already, like, basically, they look showered and cleaned up, and they're just there with their medals and their drinks and their pretzels cheering people on. Then you have people that ran, because it's a 4-race weekend. There's a 5K, a 10K, a half, and then the full. So some people that did the other races, they gather, and then just random passerbys. You can even tell. I think most people that hang out at Epcot at that point know it's the marathon day and are there to cheer. But I'm sure there's some randos that just showed up at the Disney park and are like, "What are these people running?"
You can see
the park is fully operational.
You can see the
point.
people standing at like the little crosswalks they have set up to let them across when the race people go by, who you can tell who there is like there to cheer for the race and who there was like, what is going on?
I would say the most part, though, the people in that vicinity at Epcot, they were there to watch the runners. And at one point, we forgot that our names were on our bibs because like
that really
people were like,
freaked me
"Go
out."
Hope, go Daniel!" And Daniel's looking at me like, "Who do you know? Are these your friends?" And I'm like, "I don't know this woman. I don't know."
Well,
this
I
man.
remember that you had told me that you had some people who had talked to you about potentially being out on the course, and so
and they did. They tried to get there in time, but we finished. They got stuck in traffic in the security line, and we were actually. She texted me when we were about to go by Mission Space, was you exit the park to go backstage to finish. And she's like, "You're going to beat me to the, like, I'm not going to be at the finish line in time." She's like, because she was tracking us because you can track the runners. And she's like, "But great job." So they tried to be there. I guess we just ran too fast for them. But it was an amazing experience. So much fun.
You could say a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
You
And I would very much like to say that it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but I'm having this sneaking suspicion that I'm not going to be able to pull that off.
The training was really hard and a lot of hard work, especially like if I was somebody and I didn't have like a job or I didn't have other responsibilities and I could just fully commit myself to that training and make it my job, I think it would be a lot more doable. But it was, to be brutally honest, it was hard.
Oh, it was very hard.
It's fitting it in, and then your weekends are like shot because you're just out running for hours. So it is a commitment.
It's hard. I would say that as difficult physically as the day of the marathon was, and our long runs were, it was as equally mentally challenging to keep focused for long and to make sure that you didn't like I'm having trouble, like, just to resist the urge to say, "Oh, I'm tired and it's crappy weather outside, so let's not go
through like
run."
the holidays and everything like that.
Yes, that was the hardest part. That almost sunk us. The holidays almost sunk us.
It was hard, and we did not take any time off. Like when he said earlier what he meant by week, we backed off our mileage a little bit, but we still ran through it. We didn't take any time off. We continued to make sure we at least got our maintenance runs in. And again, if anybody ever wants to do this, whether it's the Disney Marathon or a marathon in general, train. Because our training paid off. I can tell you, yes, we were extremely sore the evening we finished. Our feet very much hurt still. But the next day, it was just like minor twinges of soreness. I have felt sorer after half marathons that I didn't train as good as I should have than I did after doing this full. So that we know that a lot of people knew that we were down there. I know this is the We Watch TV podcast, but we did want to kind of share that experience with you.
And I've got the segue for you.
Oh?
Yeah, we've been watching some TV. What do you know about Greek mythology? Did you know that, for instance, that the marathon, the very first marathon, is from Greece, where...
I did know that, actually.
I knew you did. Anyways, we have been watching some TV, and one of the things that we watched was Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Yes.
That's what it's called, right? On Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus. I would like to preface this by saying I went against everything I believe in. I did not have time to read the books yet. I'm going to do that. We never saw the first movies that came out. So
which
we knew
apparently, according
to
everything I've seen online, is no loss whatsoever.
Apparently, a lot of the book fans hated those movies and are saying good things about the Disney Plus show. Once I get my hands on those books...
Oh, I know.
I'm going to read them, and then I'll be able to compare.
They're like young adult books.
Yeah, I think I can fly through
you
them.
will just destroy them at your reading pace.
I will.
So anyways, Percy Jackson is a weekly release We caught up with it a couple weeks after we've actually seen the first.
We have one episode that we're not
we've
caught up
seen
on.
the first 5 episodes, I believe.
Four.
The 4 episodes. The 5th episode is the one we haven't watched yet.
I believe
and
so.
And then there's probably like 8 to 10 episodes for the
Yes.
season. I'm not sure how many. So that's where we are at, is episode 4.
And basically what it is about, from my understanding, is Percy Jackson's mom is a normal human, so we think, and she hooked up with a Greek god, one of the main 3 brothers of the big 3. They're Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon. And obviously we knew it was going to be Poseidon because we could tell Percy had water power early.
There's a trident in the opening credit, like the title screen.
And those 3 made a pact that they would
weren't
stop.
going to do it with humans anymore.
Yeah, and really for all the gods, doing it with humans and having kids is frowned upon, because then monsters want to attack the kids, which are the demigods
or half-bloods.
So they send these demigod children to this Hogwarts type, Sabrina the Witch type camp place, and that's where
they
they're
play capture the flag.
Yeah, where they play capture the flag. They're supposedly protected there, and then if your god, mother, or father hasn't claimed you yet, you go off to an unclaimed house. And then when they do claim you, you go to that house. Poseidon hadn't claimed anybody, so Percy was going to be in his little house all alone. But then he gets sent in this quest.
We assume that Zeus's house and Hades' house would also be equally empty because they supposedly have a pact where they weren't supposed to be out there, doing it.
So before, though,
at least with the regular humans.
Before Percy gets taken to this place, he finds out suddenly from his mom, because he gets expelled from school because he used by accidentally his water powers to attack his bully, who was just a little redhead girl. What is going on? And she's like, I got something to tell you. And she takes a very long time to tell the story. And I'm like, oh my Lord, get to the point. Get to the point, woman. Get to the point. And she finally tells him, she doesn't say, though, she just says his dad's a god, that he's a demigod. She doesn't say it's Poseidon. So suddenly his little friend at school that we thought sold him out turns out to be, he's his protector. He's a satyr, a goat boy.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, they get close to the camp, and one of the monster things comes out. And
it's a minotaur. It's not one. It's a classic Greek monster.
Whatever. And we think it kills the mom, but we see her kind of evaporate into air.
She like Thanos snapped.
Yeah. So they think that Hades has her. So part of his quest is they have to go down and get something from Hades, but everybody thinks Percy took this other item, which he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But on the side, Percy's basically yeah, I'm going there to get my mom.
His quest is to go.
I don't care about this quest. I don't care about my dad. Here's to you, Dad.
His quest is to retrieve the Master Bolt.
Yeah, which is Zeus's bolt.
Yeah, that apparently everybody, which got stolen.
Am I going to meet Hercules in this?
Which got stolen, and everybody thinks that Percy took it for some reason, which hasn't been explained to me why anybody thinks this.
Am I going to get to meet Hercules? Because isn't Hercules Zeus's son?
He'd be a demigod, though, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Unless Zeus hooked up with a goddess.
Who is Hercules' mom? I have no idea.
I just know the song Zero to Hero. And that, speaking of Ted Lasso, Roy Kent's going to be Hercules.
That's in a whole different, not in this one.
Universe.
That's a whole different thing.
Let's talk about casting of this, though. I feel like they actually look like kids.
They really do.
He totally has that 12-year-old puberty voice. And then I looked at the cast of the movies because I was curious, and I know those people have obviously aged since 2010, but even back then they all looked older.
Yeah.
This actually looks like a young cast. I think there's going to be some romance eventually. I don't know if you're going to get that in there with them being so young at this point.
I would hope that
we met Medusa, who was played by Nora from The Flash, Barry and Iris's child.
I didn't recognize, I didn't.
It was the voice for me.
And it was the voice. But
when you told me
that, I was like, oh, well.
Nick Offerman's wife is one of the ladies that are trying to get to Percy, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
The one woman with the monster, Daniel, I did IMDb her. She was totally the gym teacher in that Frasier episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Okay. Wow.
Nailed that one.
Cut.
She's been in so many other things. But
Deep
Frasier.
So, I'm enjoying it so far. I mean,
I like it.
We started it the other night when we were sick and tired, and we were both kind of I'm not sure. And I don't know, maybe the best thing I can say about it is because of kind of the age range that it's geared at.
It's easy.
Us, where we were at from our mental state, it was
Yeah.
really easy
It's
to
easy.
just sit and watch and eat dinner.
Took some cold medicine,
And not-
watched
yeah.
it. At one point,
Maybe the cold medicine helped a little bit.
they're like in St. Louis going up the arch, and Daniel's like, "Is that what it really looks like when you go up in the arch?" And I've been up in the arch, and it really is what it looks like. You get in this tiny like little like vehicle like thing.
Seems very claustrophobic.
Yeah, I can't believe that I did that. Honestly,
Yeah, I'm
the
yeah.
fact that I agreed to that. Yeah, it is crazy because I hate elevators in general. People like I will take the stairs any day of the week. The only time I thought about taking the stairs or taking the elevator was right after my marathon because we were on a second floor room, and I was like, "Ooh, stairs."
We got it anyways.
We did.
I old man walked up
Nice.
those steps
Yeah.
for that whole weekend. You know, with
Yeah.
that old man where like crouched down, butt out,
Yeah.
leaned over, and pumping the arms to get up them steps.
Speaking of old men, the guy that's in Parks and Rec, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's like the perfume guy.
Yeah,
He was also in an episode of Modern Family. He's one of the gods. He's
Yeah.
like the god, like the
Dionysus
drinking.
of wine and like fun and stuff.
All I know is he had a Diet Coke, and I was like, see, he's a god, and he's drinking a Diet Coke. It's okay. And then he's like, you can tell he's trying to get like his alcohol, and I was like, oh, I guess he's not reliable. What do you think about the cast? I mean, like, other than anything else you want to say about it, like,
I know now.
I want to know where they're going with this because
4
am I
episodes
supposed to
in.
am I supposed to like the gods? Because right now they all seem
I don't
like
think
jerks.
So let me tell you.
Maybe the gods need to stop doing it with humans if they don't want to have demigod children running around.
And
You know,
and
maybe.
if there's book
Just a
readers
thought.
out there who have seen into this more with the series, there's a real like there's a subtext to this show
Yes.
about parenting.
How no one's a good parent.
No, not necessarily no one's a good parent, but how like just
Absentee parents.
Yeah, the way parenting can affect your development and how
Yeah.
some kids go one way with it and some kids go another way with it. And like to me, it's not subtle, it's hitting you over the head with it, but it really is. For me, that's what's connecting to me right now is that subtextual conversation that we're getting. You know, just
And like, if we meet
And
Poseidon, though, like, am I supposed to like him?
yeah, well,
'Cause
that's
right now I
ultimately for me. That's the thing is like I want to meet. Like we've met one god so far in Dionysus,
Yeah, we haven't met.
and we
I'm
really
sure
haven't
we'll
met
meet-
near the rest of them.
I know the movies cast that had the big three, like they were in the movies, the big three gods. So I'm sure they'll show up at some point.
Right.
in
Well,
this
we know
series.
like they're going to Hades, so the chances of us meeting Hades are high.
I like how the
Poseidon has-
underworld is underneath Los Angeles, though.
Yeah,
which is like the city of
Poseidon
angels.
has like made himself known to Percy at this point in the show. So
we had to claim him
yeah,
for like after
so
they captured the
chances
flag.
we meet him are high, and then they keep talking about Zeus a lot. So you figure the big guy's
Yeah.
got to show up at some point. So I'll be interested to see who they've cast in these characters and how they are portrayed in the show, because I'm always interested in like how the portrayals of that stuff go when
And
it
once
comes
I
to
read
any
the
gods.
books, then I will have a more firmer judgment and a grasp on what they did right and what they didn't do right. I can definitely see though why book readers probably are preferring the show because I really think that it's hard to take books to a movie sometimes that are especially series. Yes, you take a gamble when you do a show because you don't know if you're going to season one. I'm assuming season one of the show's based on the first book. would be my
yes, I'm
assumption.
assuming that.
Especially with like children. It's one of the reasons, and this is a very unpopular opinion, it's one of the reasons why I, unlike other Harry Potter fans, am not vehemently against them doing a Harry Potter reboot in the form of a show. I always knew, come on, they were no one has any creativity anymore. They were always going to redo Harry Potter at some point.
What did I say when
They
we
were always gonna do it.
when we walked out of Deathly Hollows Part 2? What did I say? I said I can't wait for in 10 years when we get to see
And
the
I
emo
said I
version.
want to go watch it right away
the
again.
emo version of Harry Potter done on TV.
But do you not remember if
I
Deathly
know,
Hallows? We walked out of the theater
know, we
and we
walked
walked
right back in.
in and
Yes,
saw it again
I
because I had to
remember.
see it again anyway. And I love the Harry Potter books. And I like the movies, but the movies left out some stuff that I felt like were important to the books. And they gave certain lines to other characters. Like, you could tell, this is one of my beef with the movies, I got to get on the soapbox here, that I love Emma Watson too, but not at the expense of the character of Ron. Ron kind of got cast aside a little bit. And that you could tell the director, like they would even go as far as giving some of Ron's lines to Hermione. Ginny Weasley is awesome in the books. In the movies, she's all right.
Can I say something? The Harry Potter movies, whether you like them or you hate them,
And I never said I hated them.
I know you love them.
I love
and
them.
whether you're looking forward to a show or not, you have to admit the regardless of the things that they didn't do right from the books, the casting of those movies could not have been better.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. I just wish that they would have. When I say characterization, I mean.
Yeah,
Jenny
I know what you
was
mean.
awesome.
Yeah.
And the movies just, I don't even think it's anything against the actress who played Jenny in the movies. It's just they didn't have time to really show us what Jenny was all about, like what we got from the books.
I mean, the actors can only do with what they were given.
Yeah, anytime I talk to like movie only people that are like, I don't understand how, they're like, I get it how Ron and Hermione are together. They're like, but I don't understand the Harry Jenny thing. I'm like, read the books, please. I'm like, they don't make so much sense to you. And people that shipped Harry and Hermione, you are so incredibly wrong. I can't believe that there's even book people that ever thought that, because it's Ron, Hermione all the way. Had to get that off my chest. And that's another beef that I had with the movie, is where they put that little dance in the seven, and they think they did that to show that he was just trying to make her feel better. But what it did was it took some of those movie only watchers and made them think. Because I had a friend that didn't know, and I'm like, oh honey, I was like, it's not even a thing at all. I was like, Hermione is all about Ron, even when Ron is the biggest jerk ever to her.
So Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Anyway, I have one more point to go. I let you do this all the time with Star Trek. Shows can give you more content. And I think that's why, even though I don't think it needs to be made, I'm like, you know what? If they're going to do this Harry Potter show, maybe we'll explain how the original way the firebolt happened. Maybe we'll get to the whole elves, like the political things. Maybe we'll get to see how awesome Jenny is. So maybe that's why, I don't know, Percy Jackson readers, is this why you're liking the series better? Are you getting more details? Because there was one scene, I think in the last episode we watched, it was the one with Medusa, so it was the episode before the last one we watched, where the three kids were just like conversating for a really long time, to the point we were like, this scene is dragging.
It's been multiple times in the series
and
where
I'm like,
that's happened, and
do you
I'm
think
wondering,
this is
it's
like a book thing?
Yeah, they're like they're giving it time to breathe. For me, it's a little, It's not a show killer by any stretch of the imagination. And honestly, like with sitting on the couch just trying to relax, it's just like, okay, it's just kind of taking its time and getting there. But I can certainly see how I think that once you've read the books, you'll be able to give us a little bit more insight as to whether or not that's like
insight into the monsters not liking the demigods. I feel like that's probably explained well in the books too.
Hopefully.
Because I feel like they just kind of like say like, and they don't like each other, and this is why, and here we go. Like, I don't think they explain that enough in the show, and I have a feeling you might get more backstory with that in the books. But anyway, my point had to get on the Harry Potter. So, like, can you imagine if they made Game of Thrones into a movie? Like,
it'd be a disaster.
It'd be a disaster. This is why, like, shows, and like the Lord of the Rings show, when you told me they were doing that at first, I thought it was actually going to be about like the Lord of the Rings, like the movies that we saw into a show. Because the first thing I said to you was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Because I always said that. How cool would it be to have a Lord of the Rings show? I mean, you could go for seasons if you got it. But then they chickened out and did Rings of Power instead, which, how do you feel about that?
I can't wait to hate watch season 2.
But yeah, so Percy Jackson, new show we've been watching. I know we have one, I don't know when the episodes drop. We have one more that's on there that we need to get caught up on. And then we'll be with you guys in the weekly release format, which is not my favorite thing ever. And apparently,
helps out with content on the podcast, though.
Yeah, apparently, when we talked about shows in 2024 we were looking forward to, we did not mention this next show because we did not know it was happening, because Disney Plus did pretty much, in my opinion, absolutely zero marketing for it. Another Marvel show, guys. Do you want to explain that one?
Yeah, it's if you watched
Hawkeye.
Sorry, thank you for reminding me which one she showed up in. So if you watch Hawkeye, which was Christmas 2022, there was a character called Echo that showed up into that, and also Kingpin showed up in that show.
And he's also from
Daredevil. Well, actually, I mean, he's a Spider-Man villain.
Did he show up in Jessica Jones?
No. There's Hope blowing her nose right on camera on microphone. So
sorry, guys.
No, he did not show up in Jessica Jones, but Kingpin's actually I know him as Spider-Man villain.
Okay.
and there's a lot of people who think they might be starting to slowly trail down this like.
Well, I've heard they're giving Daredevil like another shot.
He's getting another show, but there's rumors that they're starting down a tract of giving, like they call them, I can't remember the term they use for them, like street level heroes. So like not like the big Avengers, but like the street level people like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, like an Avengers level event against Kingpin in New York, and Echo is a character that'll
From
join
the
into
streets.
that. And so they released all 5 episodes of her show. We haven't gotten into that yet.
Never even seen a preview. I finally did see a preview the other day after it was already released. Not a preview, but just like a clip of Kingpin beating the crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
But it was not even on that list of shows that I read off. I have not seen any promotions on Disney Plus from it. When did you find out? Like, it's just like they just decided.
When I found out it was released, I was seeing clips of it on TikTok.
It's like, did they want it to not? Is it? I'm assuming it's just one season.
I have no idea what Marvel and Disney's.
Is it because they
like,
knew they're backing off
right
on Marvel
now.
shows, so they're like,
that
we're not
must
even
be
going to
it.
promote this?
I
and
don't
it's
know.
it's all the episodes, right?
Yeah, all 5. That's it. It's just a 5-episode series.
So we can get into that when our brains can function a little better.
I feel like that's not going to be as easy watching as Percy Jackson. By the way, Percy Jackson, 8 episodes.
8 episodes.
So we have watched 4. We're getting ready to watch the 5th, and I'm assuming this week the 6th will come
and then
out.
I'll read the books, and then I'll get really sad and bummed out that I have to ultimately wait forever for season 2. I assume they'll get a season 2. I feel like it's doing very well.
Disney's pushing it. Like, they're pushing it hard.
Like, and I know a lot of people that were really into those books that were so upset at those movies and that seem to be really liking the show. And I've seen people that I don't know, like just online, talking about like, so as somebody that's typically the person that does read the books first, that makes me very happy to hear.
That the book people are happy.
That the book people are happy. Yeah. Because when you stray from the book, guys, I mean, sometimes you can have it where the movies are still going to work out okay, like Harry Potter, or you can have a big old mess like Game of Thrones. But we don't need to rant about Game of Thrones.
Crossing my fingers. I'm crossing my fingers over here. The guy, Mike Flanagan, the guy that does all the Haunting on Hill House movies and did the House of Usher.
Yes.
He has the rights to the Dark Tower, and he's a fan.
Because you didn't much care for the movies, right?
The movie was terrible.
Wasn't Matthew McConaughey in that?
Yeah, it was awful.
Okay.
And it had nothing to do with any of the actors that they cast. They cast great actors, and they gave them the worst possible script imaginable.
Knowing what I know from those books when I tried to read it, and just from what you've told me, I think doing a movie is hard for
Terrible
idea.
idea.
Show is, again, a much
Terrible
better idea.
idea.
I just think, and maybe it's because we are biased. We are the We Watch TV podcast, and we like TV shows better than movies. I just feel like TV shows give you more opportunity to take your time, to be creative, to get those details in. Because, I am the type of person, if I read a book, they're like, oh, would you want to go to the movie theater and sit for 7 hours so it's exactly like the book? And I'm like, yes, Susan, I would.
The thing is, they're different.
Let me sit for 7 hours.
TV and movies are entirely different mediums.
Exactly.
Like, for instance, so Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Was based off of a biography of Robert Oppenheimer.
But that's not like a book series. That's
it
one
wasn't
book.
A series. And so it was very much focused on one singular thing, right?
Yes.
Movies are really good when you have one singular momentous event to focus on. And that's the thing you're trying to say. Right?
When you're doing
but when you're trying to develop these characters over huge,
and if you have
long
multiple
arcs
characters that
and
have multiple arcs,
characters, TV is just the better medium for that kind of thing. And to be honest, like most book series are better suited to that.
And it just gives you more to work with, more time to take. It works out better.
Yeah, because I mean, like again, most of your books out there that are just like one-shot books, like they're not a series, probably movie adaptation is the way to go. But anything that's got a series going on, it's just not good. You're not going to have time to develop and do the things you need to do in a 2-hour, 3-hour movie.
A TV series that takes a little bit more time than the unnecessary, I'm going to, like, little thing they do now with, like, book series turn to movies. It's like, you know what? Like Hunger Games. I'm going to split Mockingjay into 2 movies.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to split, I don't know what they were thinking with The Hobbit. Money. I don't know. How can we suck money out of this children's book?
Yes, that's what they were thinking.
Because there were 3 movies for that, right?
Listen, if New Line Cinema knew...
we would have had like 6 Lord of the Rings
exactly.
movies.
Knew what Lord of the Rings was going to be, they would have made 6 movies out of that.
Yeah.
but they didn't know. They were taking a huge financial risk on doing that. Yeah, exactly. So it's about money. They think they can extract more from us. But, like, I don't know. I mean, we're in this age now where your top-level television is just as good as movies.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know what the risk. Again, I'm not an insider in the business, so I don't know the ins and outs of how things work.
I know these Marvel shows, they say, are very expensive to make.
Yeah, and the benefit of them is nobody pays for them because they're on Disney Plus, and so it's a little harder.
And
to
I'm sure these
extract
Percy
exactly
Jackson series was hard to make, or not hard, but expensive, just from what I've seen.
I don't know. So far, I mean, there's been some special effects shots, but there's not been anything like just crazy expensive looking. Like, all of it's been pretty practical sets. So I don't know. I don't know what's more expensive these days in Hollywood and in filming industry. And is it more expensive to go on site to a place like the Arch in St. Louis, or just to have everybody in the sound studio against the green screen? Like, I don't even know what's more expensive.
I don't know. There are some movies that we want to watch soon. I do actually want to watch the Willy Wonka movie. I've heard it's really good. It's no longer at our theater, but we can rent it.
You only wanted to see it when you found out it was a musical.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, of course. But these are people that were super into the OG Willy Wonka that say it's actually really good. I don't think they marketed that well enough either. They should have they've been marketing it wrong the entire time. I didn't know idea it was a musical till right when it was out.
Well, I'm a person who wasn't into any of it ever, so.
You like the first Willy Wonka? Yes, you do.
I've probably seen it once.
With Gene Wilder?
Yeah. I love Gene Wilder, but whatever.
That was always that one, and then The Wizard of Oz, my babysitter had on VHS, and she would always be like, which one do you want to watch? And I would typically watch Willy Wonka because The Wizard of Oz used to creep me out as a kid.
More than Willy Wonka?
Yeah. You got the brain of hope, guys. Come on.
Right. Hey, you've also continued to watch Friday Night Lights.
I have.
Where are you at, Hope, since 1 week ago? Since the episode that we posted 1 week ago where you were almost ready to finish season 1, where are you at now?
I am over halfway through season 3. So we got home from our marathon, and I watched the first episode of season 2, and then I've been hit with this, I don't know, Disney crud. What do you want to call this? Just the crud. And I've just been vibing with Friday Night Lights when I haven't been watching Percy Jackson. And I am partway through season 3. Now, season 2 was the writer's strike season, so there were only 15 episodes.
Only 15 42-minute episodes.
But yeah, I love Friday Night Lights. As I was sitting there watching before we started to do this podcast, I thought to myself, if you're somebody and you've never tried to watch Friday Night Lights and you sit down and you do watch it, if you actually would have sat down and watched this for me and you don't like it, I think that you are crazy. Because it's literally one of the best shows ever, especially season 1. Season 1's a masterpiece. Season 2, I can tell they were impacted by the strike a little bit because some of the storylines ended abruptly. But this show has heart, just passion, character building. I'm all about characterization, and they all are flawed. Even Eric Taylor and Tammy Taylor are flawed. And that's what I like. I don't like to see perfect characters. And there's just so much heart to it. And I really do think they capture the small town vibe very well. And I think that's something that's difficult for Hollywood to capture. And it makes me feel good when I watch it. Even through the bad times, you see these characters come out on the other side. And if you ever played, you don't have to be a football player. If you've ever played some type of competitive sport and had a team and been close with your team, I think that you'll feel emotions when you watch the show. But I think you could be somebody that's never played a sport, doesn't even like football, and you would just love even the family dynamics that this show gives.
Sorry, I had to take a long drag of my cigarette to be prepared to say this. I can't watch this show because...
You don't have a cigarette.
I know, it was a...
Go on.
I can't watch this show because of the camera work.
The camera's not
it's
as shaky in
awful.
other seasons.
It's awful. I was just watching on season 3, and they were just looking at this new house that they didn't end up buying, and that's just calm down, man. Jeez. It's
part of the vibe.
It's like the camera operators. It's like they gave the camera operator this following instruction. you're in a freaking earthquake. And that's all they told him about the style of this show. You're in an earthquake.
You are not a panther. Clear eyes, full hearts. Can't lose. Texas forever.
Well, speaking of other American landmarks, how do you feel about Staten Island?
Oh, what we do in the shadows. We got a local news episode.
Oh, it was great.
And anytime I see a show that kind of rips on local news, I feel two different ways about it because, one, I'm getting the humor, but as somebody who once worked as a local news reporter, I've also been on the side where you interview with the crazy people. And I could see myself interviewing somebody that claimed to be a vampire, and I would have been like, all right. I once had somebody, I feel like with the statute of limitations is well past on this. It's probably been
I think you're good.
Several years now, that came to our little news office, gave me a drawing on a piece of notebook paper. It might have been a napkin. I don't know. And said, hey, you got to know that the Mothman is back and it's a woman now. It's had some changes. And serious as can be. And I'm like, you need to report on this. And I'm just like, what? So I handed it to my editor and then we had a good laugh about it. But yeah.
I still remember
the
dead deer was my favorite story because poor old you, as West Virginia through and through as you are, you really never were introduced
none
to
of the
that
men in
side
my family,
of
like
West
my
Virginia.
grandpa hunted, but not when he wasn't hunting anymore when I was
and
a
so
child.
somebody pulls up to your work and it says hey, I got the deer I just shot out in the back
And
of
I'm
my truck. Can you just come
deer?
take a picture of it for the paper?
And he's like, it's an 8-point, and I'm like, what does that mean? It's apparently the antlers. That's how they do it.
And I don't hunt, but I grew up in that culture, so I know how that stuff is. So you came home and told me that, and I was just laughing. I was just rolling on the floor.
I could write a book. That's why the reaction of the people working the local news at Staten Island in the recent episode of What We Do in the Shadows, where they were just like, oh, okay. In other news, the puppy parade is taking place next Sunday.
That's what made the whole
just roll with it.
The whole shtick of that episode where Nando and Laszlo think that they're taking it way more seriously than they should.
Nando was like,
funny.
I'm from the 1800s or something, so they think that everybody's found out they're vampires and that they have to protect themselves from them, whereas the local news people are like, oh, okay, because, New York is probably filled with a bunch of crazy people. No offense to anyone in New York. But they were like, oh, so in other news, the puppy parade is on Sunday. Here, what does our weather forecast look like? And then, so the best part is where the vampires decide they have to go hypnotize everybody that's watching this news because they take it another step far. And then we've got Nadja, Laszlo,
they
Colin
just do the
Robinson,
news report.
They just do the news. And it was perfection.
I have to know if that's actually a news channel in New York.
And of course, Colin Robinson is the weather guy.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Of course.
And he's wearing that camo jacket so he doesn't show up on green screen. And then Guillermo is not with them the entire time. He's at his family's because he's trying to tell his mom that he's never going to see her again because he's a vampire. But he keeps getting distracted by seeing them on TV. And then finally at the end of it, when they resolve it, he's like, actually, that worked out better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And that's when he realizes that maybe they can make it without him.
This show, I'm really bummed that we only have a few more episodes left of this season.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to be caught up, and then we'll have to do the weekly release, and I don't know if they've started filming again or not.
I think they have, because I saw just on Reddit before we started recording an interview. I didn't read it, but it was an interview with the actor that plays Guillermo. And like I said, he was giving away some stuff about the season, so I think they are working actively on it. You
know what my favorite part of that episode was, where they were trying to make their disguises? So Nadja dyes her hair blonde, and then the Nadja doll had blonde hair too. That was cute.
If anybody knows where we can get Hope, her own little Hope-like doll, just let us know, because she needs one to talk to.
And I need to get it to have matching outfits like me, to do my hair like me. And right now, Laszlo's the only one that knows that Guillermo's turn, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That'll probably come into play
unless
in the
he's
finale,
told,
do we think?
Yeah, unless he's told Nadja and she just haven't given it up, but I don't think that's the case.
He's
a gentleman.
One of my favorite episodes of this season so far.
They always find a way to go outside of the box and do something wacky and weird.
And make it
But they really
hilarious.
commit to it. The thing is, they don't ever do it half. They commit to it. And that's what
And
makes it
finally,
funny.
the one reporter does see them all floating in the air.
And that's why they end up
And
at the
then-
news station because they're trying to take care of that situation. Because ultimately, like their original screw up wasn't a screw up, but they take it so far that they have to then take care of it. So,
Anything else we've been watching that you want to talk about?
no, I think
Ooh, we do have one more thing that we have to talk about when it comes to the marathon. I almost forgot because I promised. I actually said we got to make sure we say this. So this doesn't have anything to do with the running itself, but anytime Daniel and I go to Disney, we turn down housekeeping. You can like turn that down because we don't let people rooting around our stuff. Not that they do that, but we're just like, you know what? We don't want them coming in there. Like if we're gonna be in the room, especially when you're at a Run Disney schedule and you're sleeping at weird hours a day. But they'll still do like knocks, like to make sure you're okay, security checks. Anytime we have been at Disney on our past several trips, without fail, they come to the door. Daniel is on the toilet every time, and I'm like half naked. Like I think I was changing the last time, and the guy was like, "Hey, can we like housekeeping?" And I said, "Like I'm indecent." That's what I said.
I don't know why you said that. I don't know what. Like as soon as I heard,
just been like, I'm naked.
Okay. I'm on the can, scrolling TikTok,
I've got a turd coming.
minding my own business, and I hear the door knock, and then I hear you go, "I am indecent," and I'm like,
I said, we
"Oh
are
my
indecent.
God, what are you doing? You can't. You're talking through a door. You got to
What do I
use.
say?
You got to use the easiest. Say, please come back later.
I did say that, but then he's
Not
like,
before you said I'm indecent.
and he's like, well, we would like to come in now to check. And I said, oh, I'm indecent. Should I just been like, oh, I'm getting dressed. I don't have any pants on.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like Winnie the Pooh Bear right now. Like what? But every single time, that's what happens.
If you would have said, I don't have any pants on and my husband is pooping, they would have went away. I guarantee they would have went away.
See, the other time I was getting ready to get in the shower. So you're not always on the toilet, but like one of us is changing and one of us is in the bathroom.
Someone is at least half nude.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. I think the only time that didn't happen was when I wasn't feeling very well and I had taken a Benadryl. So I was like passed out asleep.
Oh yeah, you were passed out.
That was at Wilderness Lodge.
Well,
And
I was shirtless. I had to put a shirt on before they answered the door.
I just had to get that out. I was like, this is in my show notes to say.
'Cause that was in June, so it was hot. So I probably didn't have a shirt on at that point when we were in the room.
Anyway, speaking of, I guess, shirtless men, even though they're not really shirtless, we are back this week, you guys, with another recap of season 3, our OC rewatch. We have not done a OC rewatch for you guys since episode 46. We had some stuff come up, but we are back. So
And our stats show it. And I'm sorry, everybody. Damn, I didn't realize that you all tuned in for the OC rewatch so hard.
that's how much people love Sandy.
I think
Miller.
December's a tough month for podcast listening. Is the thing I picked up on, but yeah, we've been pushing our way through the OC season 3. I'm not gonna say that it has been fun, but it certainly has been. It certainly has been.
You can tell the change.
Yeah, you can. You really can.
So we last left off, and we had watched episodes, I think through episode 7. And we are going to talk about episode 8, called The Game Plan. We're going to talk about episode 9, The Disconnect. Episode 10, if you're missing Christmas, The Chrismica Bar Mitzvah. And then we also watched, my phone's being weird right now, episode 11, The Safe Harbor. Episode 12, The Sister Act. And then we're going to go to all the way to episode 13. So we have watched quite a few. We just haven't talked about it. The Pot Stirrer. When we last left off with you guys, we had, this is where you get your Star Trek reference in. Charlotte, 7 of 9. She's gone. She didn't get to victimize Kirsten. Julie put her in her place.
She's in space now.
So she is in space now. And now we've got the gang. The kids are talking about their college applications that are due. So that was one of the big episodes. It says, will their relationship survive this next chapter of their lives? We find out that Summer, hasn't just been applying herself well in school, but she's actually pretty smart. So we have that drama. Taylor is getting a little bit nicer. I told you she would start to redeem herself a little bit.
I mean, from what you've told me, ends up happening in season 4.
They still got some work to do.
They got a lot of work to do.
Did you find out a lot of her personality is because
you know
her
who
mom
she
was
reminds
so
me of? I
horrible?
was thinking about this while we were running today for some reason.
You were thinking about Taylor Townsend while we were running. Okay,
Yes.
go on.
Who's the annoying girl in Gilmore Girls? What's her name?
Paris Geller.
Paris. Those are very similar characters, I feel like.
I love
Can you
Paris.
see it?
Yeah, but I love Paris though.
Do you love Taylor eventually?
Yeah, actually end up
Okay,
really
so
liking
there you
Taylor.
go. But does that not do they not seem similar?
They are very similar.
Okay, thank you.
They are very
I'm
similar.
not just out here on an island.
Especially the way they talk, and they're both kind of like, But you kind of, you do, she's becoming a little bit more likable. She's definitely very much attached herself to Seth and Summer, though. She's like, oh, we're besties. But she is very responsible for getting Marissa back to the school, despite her mother, who for some reason does not want Marissa to be around at all.
Oh, yeah, back into harbor school, yeah.
The harbor school. So
They do that whole thing.
There's been a lot that's gone on. So, okay, so Johnny.
Little Gianni. No one gets that joke. I don't know why I keep saying it.
I get it. What show is that from?
Everybody loves Raymond.
Okay. Maybe if you guys are Raymond fans, you might know it. So Johnny, surfer boy Johnny, who's obsessed with Marissa, another guy obsessed with Marissa, big shocker. He gets hurt. So Marissa's caring for him. We already know at this point that, like, he's in love with Marissa. Even I think she even knows. Ryan knows.
He tells her.
Yeah.
He told her. And then, like, I mean.
And she
okay.
told Ryan. She was open with Ryan about it.
You told me, like, you don't like this guy, blah, 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 blah.
I never said I didn't like him.
Okay. At this point in the show, he has been open and honest to her multiple times. It's annoying to you because
the
of who you
storyline is
want.
annoying.
The storyline is annoying. He is open and honest with everybody, like, hey, I like you, and I can't be with you, so we really shouldn't hang out together.
But yeah.
And like,
it's
she keeps on jumping in there to hang out with him.
It's a repeated pattern thing for
yeah.
Marissa.
And at this point, you got to blame Marissa for it, a little bit, because she keeps putting herself in these situations.
In the Chrismukkah Bar Mitzvah episode, they decide to have a bar mitzvah for Ryan to raise money for Johnny's surgery. So the gang's still helping him out. Safe Harbor, that's where they get Marissa back in school. We have Dr. Robert Summers' dad, we think he's going to start dating Julie. We have that whole plot line. Marissa now finds out that Marissa doesn't even seem to care that her mom's been living in a trailer park, honestly, because Marissa's understanding and seems to be a nice person when it comes to that.
She took that a lot better than I think season 1 or 2 Marissa may have taken it.
She was a lot more like chill about it. So
I think after you shoot a guy,
mellows you out a bit.
Yeah.
But we have Taylor's mom who wants to date Dr. Roberts too. And ask Kirsten for the little matchmaking. Because remember, Julie and Kirsten are in, like, business together. And obviously Taylor's excited about it. She's like, oh my gosh, Summer, we could be, like, sisters. And Summer's like, So she basically tells Seth, like, we got to figure out a way to break these people up. Now, this is them not knowing anything about Julie and her dad having a thing. And this was one of the funny parts in the episode for me. They're like, well, what's some really big dirt on your dad? And then, and then it ends up, Seth said something else about him, that he had like an STD, but Summer's like, oh my gosh, you told her that my dad voted for John Kerry? And it just took me back to that time period. I was like, wow. Because that was the first election that we were old enough to vote in, right? For president? Yes, it would have been.
Bush Kerry? Yeah, that would have been correct. Yes.
And I was like, whoa, what a blast from the past. But it turns out that Seth told Taylor's mom that Dr. Roberts had an STD. So we've got Dr. Roberts and Julie dating. Did the girls know yet that they're dating? I can't remember.
I don't recall either. I don't think so.
So we got all that going on. We got Marissa's back in school. Basically, Johnny lied to Marissa and said that he was going to be able to go on his little surf tour, that he was healing up. That's not true.
But he had good intentions for doing so, because he knew that she needed to go back to harbor school, and he did it to help put some separation there.
It's not that I dislike Johnny.
It's not just the
It's the storyline that I dislike. The storyline dragged out, and then what's going to happen to Johnny later. It's just like, it's repeated patterns with Marissa and messing with Ryan and Marissa.
It's really hard to watch this show in hindsight, knowing what's going to happen.
With both of them.
With
Marissa, too.
Yeah.
But who else showed up? We have a big character come back. Recast.
Oh, yeah. Her sister. Marissa's sister.
Caitlin Cooper.
She aged like 4 years and 18 months or something like that.
I think so. They recast. I think the girl that they cast, Willa Holland, like, looks like she could literally be both Misha Barton's sister and Melinda Clarke's daughter.
No, it's a good
Julie.
cast. The discrepancy is just like she was like 12 when she was last on the show, and now she's clearly almost 16 or 15.
Yeah, well, they have her 16th birthday.
Yeah. So it's like they're kind of making up some time.
They had to have, which is what the last episode that we watched, episode 13, is called, the pot stir. They had to have a new pot stir.
Yeah. I get it.
Even though, I guess, Jimmy is a screw-up from many aspects, so Marissa could be a screw-up from the fact that she just has the same, just almost too empathetic pattern. But she's more like Jimmy, character-wise, when it comes to being friendly, nice. Caitlin is a little Julie.
Yeah.
So I do kind of like that. I'm loving the Julie trailer park era, though.
It's pretty good.
I said it's one of my favorite things.
I don't dislike Julie and Dr. Roberts, if I'm being honest with you.
Me
I don't have any problems with it.
And they both seem very open.
Yeah, they're being open about it, and it seems kind of fun. And I
know it's not going to last because I know that, but I do know that he's going to let them live in the house eventually. Because I know at one point they make a joke that he accepts a job at Seattle Grace Hospital. I remember this because that was when Grey's Anatomy was huge, even though they're on 2 different networks. So I'm like, also, in that he's going to go work with somebody named Dr. Bailey. I swear they say, maybe not swear, I'm pretty sure they make a joke like that in the OC at some point. You have to understand, Grey's Anatomy was also huge at this point.
Okay.
You're like, all right. So what do you think of the character Caitlin?
Just troublemaker, classic.
New villain, but also a little girl.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, trying to get mom's attention. Probably Marissa has always been the favorite. Marissa had some troubled as a teen. Obviously took the bulk of her parents' attention. Caitlin's been shipped off. It's not surprising that Caitlin is jealous of Marissa, honestly.
No, not at all.
And Caitlin is making eyes at little Gianni. And do you think Marissa is jealous that Johnny might like Caitlin too?
Yes.
I think she's jealous as well, but I don't think it takes any love that she has from Ryan away. I think it's a complicated, hard thing to explain, and I think that she's confused about it. Ryan's confused about it. At the end of the day, while they look like they're in their 20s now, like, these are teenagers. And I remember at the time being so much more irritated at Marissa than I am now. But I'm like, I can see that. I can see that she still loves Ryan, but is a little jealous because she probably, deep down, she probably did like the attention she was getting from Johnny and the friendship. And she probably knows that Caitlin's, might be up to no good.
Well, definitely she suspects Caitlin is up to no good and not actually genuine in her. And I do think she is jealous, them, but
she still loves Ryan. But obviously, there's going to be some stuff that goes down. We are getting into the very meaty part of the season where you're really going to be stressed out by some of Marissa's actions coming up.
Oh, good. Just what I was looking forward to.
Season 3, bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Seth blew his college interview to go to Brown. He did the pot.
So that was the last episode we watched. So
Caitlin gave him the weed, right?
Does High Seth stick around for a little bit?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
For a little bit. We're going to have some Seth and Summer issues once again.
Oh, my gosh.
Totally inflicted by Seth. You're going to get to see Anna come back this season.
Hey,
and Teresa. I forgot she comes back, too.
I don't care about Teresa. Anna, I'm excited to see Anna.
You just love Anna. Anna's got to come back to fix Seth and Summer at the end of the season.
Of course, that's what she always was there for.
Role. But season 3, it is hard to watch knowing how it ends. And you can tell this is where the network really did pressure them to do a darker tone. Because we've had some of that humor, but it hasn't been like at the forefront. And I have no idea about Sandy and this guy. I don't remember any of this storyline. Sandy's taken over the Newport group. He hired that guy, that younger guy, to do it with him, who is shady, by the way.
Yeah.
And didn't Sandy go against his like ethics and ended up like paying off the one guy and like giving him alcohol to like join their business?
No, they just like wined and dined him and brought some, ladies of the night in.
But that's not what Sandy wanted to do.
Obviously.
Because Sandy is a man of character. So I like a lot of these adult storylines. I know there's something that goes down with Julie and Kirsten's matchmaking business, and Julie ends up doing a little bit of like what's it called? Escorting.
Yeah.
And I think there's a storyline there, but I do not remember what goes down with Sandy and this guy and this Newport group thing. No memories of this. It just shows you what I paid attention to when I was younger and I watched the show and what I did not. And Summer, Taylor is going to get a little bit better. She's always still going to be very uptight, but she is very much like Paris.
Okay.
Which one do you like better? I have a soft spot for Paris.
I'm gonna,
I have a
ask
soft
me.
spot for Paris.
Ask me at the end of season 4 when we finish the OC, because I don't want to say which one I like more without having seen the full character arc of Taylor.
But do you have a soft? I've always had a soft spot for Paris.
No, she's annoying.
Oh, I just have a soft spot for her.
She's annoying.
Imagine having to work your butt off at everything, and then in walks perfect little Rory, and who's just getting everything that you've worked so hard at. I can see. And then why Paris is the way she is. Not that I would be like that, but I can see a little bit like. But then they end up becoming very close. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Paris. I think Paris is hilarious. Maybe that's why I start to like Taylor a little bit more.
Possibly. They're gonna have to.
I can't
They
believe
still
you were
got a lot of
thinking
work
about
to
her
do.
while you were running.
I can listen. Anything to get me through. Anything to get me through.
Anyway. That about does it for the OC. Hopefully we'll be back with some more regular rewatches of the OC. Had to take a little hiatus, but we're back. California. And you know what I want to do now?
What's that?
I want to take some cold medicine and eat a grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese sandwiches.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.